This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by ACI Learning. Certifications show more than proving a skill set. They let everyone see you are committed to keeping your knowledge and skills up to date. The products you've grown to love, IT Pro, Audit Pro, and Practice Labs, are now training the modern workforce together. Be bold. Train smart. Check out go.acilearning.com/twit to learn more.
I am very excited to talk about some products from Ecovacs. So Ecovacs has made some robotic vacuums, and I'm showing these off today. I've got before me the Deebot. Let's see, this is the Deebot T10 Omni, this large Ecovacs robot. And then this is the T9 Plus. So we're going to talk about the T9 Plus first, and then we'll talk about the T10 Omni, because this is a monstrous, massive contraption. So let's talk about the T9 Plus. And with these robots, Ecovacs has done a great job of making some robotic vacuum cleaners that are cost effective, which I really like. Let me set down my computer here really quick. They're cost effective, which I really like, while still offering a lot of the functionality that you would get from some of the, the brands that are a little bit more expensive. So you get a lot of that same technology, but in a robotic vacuum that doesn't break the bank at least as much. So with the T9 Plus here, let's talk about the robot itself first. So you've got kind of you've probably seen a lot of these. You've got your standard robot vacuum here, where it can run across the carpets and be able, to clean those. And so this has your standard roller brush and wheels, and these wheels are incredibly heavy duty, and I found them to be super grippy, which is great because I've got parts of the floor that are carpet, parts of the floor that are hardwood, and then you get two of these kind of wheel brushes with it. And this has some great functionality built in that I have found to be quite delightful. Inside of the device, you've got a nice dust bin, and this comes out so that you can clean it, but you don't have to clean it yourself very often. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And I like to, let me try to get that back in, that it includes a little brush tool here. This is always nice. So you can kind of brush everything out, but then it also has this little slider, and you're meant to slide that across the brush roll, and it will cut away the hair, which is really nice if you have, like I do, some dogs that might leave some of that behind. So with this, you do get the standard LiDAR that is built into the device at the top. And so there's a little thing spinning around inside of there that is sending out a signal, and then it's looking for it to bounce back to determine where it is in the room. So this does do room mapping. It has, they call it True Detect technology, which is kind of a mixture of different types of sensors, including, if I remember correctly, it does have on top of LiDAR, it also has some infrared technology that can help to not vacuum up things like Lego, or if you've got cables in the way, then it avoids those. And I have to tell you, one of the things that I really like about this one that I can't say about the more expensive one is I don't know what they've done with this one, but the smarts in it are really smart. I was able to place this and run it across vacuuming things, and it did not hit the dog bowls, which is something that I've had with previous robot vacuums, where it'd knock into the dog bowls, spill food and water all over the floor, and then it'd end up cleaning up that's food and water. This didn't do that. It knew, it saw them, and it moved out of the way, which was really nice. So it didn't make more of a job for itself. Now, on the front here, you can see this is the True Detect technology, where it is sending out and sort of being mindful of what's in front of it. It's got some sensors on the side as well, and then this is sort of a bump sensor. So if there is something that it's having trouble seeing for whatever reason, then it'll bump up against this and know, oh, I need to back away. And then on the bottom here, there are sensors running along most sides of it that keep it from going, it's supposed to keep it from going off of ledges.
Yep.
I did have this sitting right near the edge. And so because I had a cleaning schedule set up, the cleaning schedule went right off the side of the very high table. So that was my bad. But it would have, if it had been able to come completely off of the sort of storage space that it's
most ambitious robot vacuum ever.
Like, please let me get started. Then I wouldn't have had that issue. One other really cool thing. So you can actually, I guess it's over here. So I'll talk about that in a second. One really cool thing is there are a couple of attachments. So it has one attachment inside right now on the front of it. And so you just click this button and then you pull out this slider. And here in the basic vacuuming configuration, you get this little insert that has kind of some fans inside that will suck air into the top and then send it out of the front. And the reason it does that is because you can buy these little air freshener pods.
Oh, nice.
And so this is cucumber and oak. You put the
nice. Smell like a spa.
It smells so good. You put that in there. It sucks air down in and blows it out the front as it's going around, and that way you get a nice air freshening scent as you. Oh, and it's talking to me. It's letting me know that I put the air freshener sensor in. Now, you get to choose between air freshener, or if you want it to be a mop as well. So this is the mopping attachment. It has a little lip here that you lift up and you can put water into it. So this is a manual option to be able to fill it with water. And then on the bottom, it has this Velcro, or I guess I should say hook and loop fastener. And then you put the mopping pad on this surface, and you take the air freshener option out, and instead you slide this in. And when you slide it in, then it detects that you've put that in, and it's called the Osmo Pro. Or not the Osmo Pro, but the Mopping Pro. That's a different device. Yeah. And now it can both vacuum and mop the floor. So it will go around and it will do them separately. With those sensors that are detecting the stairs and also using the sensors on the front, it knows the difference between a carpet or a rug and the rest of the floor. So what's awesome is it will, let's say you've got a rug in the middle of your house, right? It will run up so that it gets up next to the edge of that rug while keeping the part of the device that actually has the mopping pad off of the rug.
Nice.
And will mop all the way up to the sides of that. And the way that this device mops is this device is kind of oscillating. So it sort of moves freely, almost like a sanding device.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that kind of moves back and forth and will literally scrub the floor.
Nice.
And then the one thing about this to be mindful of is you do have to wash these on your own. It's manually. You take off the pad, you rinse it. You can get two different kinds. There's a kind that is disposable, and you get like 10 of them in a pack. So it's a little bit like using a Swiffer or something like that, a Swiffer wet jet. Or you can get the kind that are washable, and so you just throw them in the wash after you're done using them for a while. And the app will actually alert you and say, hey, it's time to clean this out.
So using the wet features, if you will, with this robot, far as getting it installed, seems like it could potentially be a bit hazardous to its health. Did you find it to be an easy process to just, fill it up, slide it in? It's not an issue. You don't worry about splashing. It looks like it has plenty of protection in place because accidents can happen. Or
yeah. So the one thing it says is don't get so there's a little part where it pops in, and that's how it gets the power that it needs and sort of can send a message to this. So if that gets wet, you just wait for it to dry, or you could put a paper towel on it. But because of this sort of lip here, I've got a little water dispenser that has like clear or clean water, I guess. And so I can put that spout like right up to it. So I don't really get a lot of water all over the place.
Oh, you fancy.
So as long as you don't get a lot of water all over the place, so you could just, even with a regular faucet, just turn it on at a low stream, because this tank doesn't hold too much water.
Right.
And then once you do that, it just slides right in. And I have not had any issues with that. It kind of has its own little guide as you're sliding it in to guide it in.
Right.
And once you put this on, it will notify that, hey, it's got the mopping option in there. And so then it plans to mop. The other annoyance, I guess, that I have with this one is it does not like to charge with the mopping attachment in.
Okay.
So it does say, hey, now that I've returned to the charging base, please put in the air freshener.
I think that's a safety feature.
I think it's I think it's a safety feature, but it's also a cleanliness feature.
Okay.
Because if the mopping pad is down to the ground, then it doesn't dry as well. Mold. So by making you take it out, you can set it. And what I just did was I just set it next to the base station, and then it was able to dry in the air. And then when I wanted to rinse it, I could. Now, I do want to mention that when it returns to its base, of course, there are I guess I shouldn't touch those because it is plugged in. There are the two charging bases, charging spots here. So this runs up onto the charging stand. And let me bring that over so we can do an overhead shot again, because I want to show you here. These two spots, these are not just holes into the bottom of the stand. Mm-hmm. These are two air vents. And what happens is, and this is what makes this thing great as well, is when this goes onto the charger and starts to charge, it will suck air. Well, actually, I believe it blows through one and then can suck it out of the other one. And so it will clean out the dust vent and send it up into a larger bag. Yep. That sits in the top here. So unlike the less expensive options that are out there where you have to get down and get into here and open up and try to take those out, this is going to do that for you. And then you just replace these. Actually, it keeps track of how long it takes to fill it up. And then you just replace these. So it's got like a paper or a cardboard rather slide in that slides in. And then this gets filled with stuff from your floor. And then after a period of time, you can go ahead and empty it out. Of course, there are all of these sensors and things that are, or rather, not even just sensors, but it's a place where it's emitting a signal from the base, an infrared signal, so that this knows how to properly align itself. And I will tell you, I've had problems with these in the past where it gets confused and doesn't quite go on to the spot as it's supposed to, and it jostles around and it's troublesome. I've not had any problems with this. They have a really good algorithm, it seems, for figuring out the mapping process.
I demoed a Deebot. Actually, I demoed a couple robot vacuums several years ago, and one of them was a Deebot, and then they had an update, and I think this was back in 2015 or so. It's been that long. And I wrote about it, and it was the Deebot D79. And I remember they introduced that feature that you're talking about, where once it goes on to the docking station, or what have you, it does the self-cleaning for emptying out the canister. Mm-hmm. And that totally blew my mind. It's like, wow, there's no more cleaning up the mess that I just cleaned up from the rest of
isn't
the
that
house.
Great?
And it put it in this big, huge canister. So it you didn't necessarily have to worry about emptying it right after that either. You could leave it in there for a couple of days or so and then, dump it out once a week or something like that. And that thing was so cool. And Deebot, they've come a long way, apparently, just from what you're showing here on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I have to say that is such a nice thing, because you're, the vacuum cleaner that I have, the sort of upright vacuum cleaner that I have, I can vacuum several times before I ever have to empty that container. Yep. And that was one of the sort of annoyances is I did want to have a schedule of the vacuum regularly cleaning, but then I had to remember every time to go and empty it out.
It was so pointless.
Yeah. So then it's like, I don't really want to do that. And the other thing is in a normal used household, especially one that I have dogs, and one of them is particularly fond of toys and likes to leave them strewn about the place. Then I had that concern that things were going to get zoomed up into the vacuum and then it was going to be stuck in the middle of the floor, blah, 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 blah. And this, with its object avoidance, does not have that problem. So it can just, okay, I see there's something there. I go around it. I don't get it sucked up into the vacuum. I found that I don't know what they've done to figure this out, but they have a really smart system for object avoidance.
And this actually came from our Discord. Take TaiQ. I'm hoping I'm saying your name correctly, but It's a good question, and I'm not trying to be crass, but I wondered about this with the whole, since I haven't seen a demoed one of these in damn near 10 years now. Mm-hmm. Obstacle avoidance is one thing, as far as not bumping into the walls, bumping into legs on chairs and things like that, avoiding Legos. But what about...
I know where you're going.
Yeah, but what about dog poop? I mean, that is a legit concern because sometimes accidents do happen. Mm-hmm. And I have a friend that had a robot. It clearly wasn't a Deebot. That, it ran its schedule and it did a cleanup.
Oh, buddy.
But it didn't make it any better. I'll just leave it at that. Do you know if Deebot and their AI has addressed issues like this?
So the T9 Plus does not specifically call out poo avoidance. It does say detect and avoid unvacuumables like Lego, car keys, and move around those. But this one that I'm about to talk about does specifically it specifically calls out poo avoidance because it uses a more advanced algorithm and more advanced technology to be able to go around and do that. However, as I mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if this did avoid poo, this T9 Plus, because of how well it was able to avoid some things that I have had trouble with in the past, where it's bumping in and just spilling food everywhere.
Right.
I do want to mention the T9 Plus retails for $800. You can get on Amazon and Best Buy, but a similar vacuum like this from a more popular brand, I guess, or more well-known brand is easily $1,800. Yeah. So that is actually quite a discount in terms of still having that functionality. And they also have within the app, every month they do these deals on the accessories that you can get. And so you get like a bunch of money off of the washing pads. And if you want to get their scents, new kind of air freshener scent and all that, they do a pretty good job of that as well. So that one's available for $800.
Nice.
Now, moving along to the Deebot T10 Omni. This is kind of a Rolls Royce of vacuums because not only does it do the emptying of the dust bin, but it also will clean, dry, and empty and fill the mopping that's involved with this.
Dude,
so
that thing has its own garage.
Yeah, it's got, that's exactly, it is a garage. It is. So this is one of the things that I was worried about. So in my kitchen, in my home, there's like this little alcove that looks like it was for kind of like, that's where the family PC goes, or that's where the you used to put the phone. And so there's this open space underneath where normally like you'd put a chair there and then you would like type on top of it or whatever. So that open space, this fit very easily. I was worried this wasn't going to. It ended up fitting, so it all worked fine because I like to have it kind of out of the way and it comes out and does it. So let me talk about this first. So it's about the same size as the Deebot T9 Plus in terms of overall sort of shape and size. The LiDAR sensor and the radar, or the why can't I think of the term now? Infrared is similar. It also has that bump detection on the front, and on the bottom you do get the same kind of detection for making sure it doesn't fall downstairs or anything like that. You'll notice that the brushes are very similar. The wheels are very similar, but instead of the separate attachment for the mop like you have on the other one, in fact, I'll bring that back over. This is what slid into the T9 Plus. Mm-hmm. This has two microfiber wheels, and these are magneted in.
Oh.
So there's just two magnets on the back of this, and it just pops on very easily. So that means they pop off. So if you want to clean them by hand, you're able to do that really easily. You liked that.
Yeah. Dude, I'm all about just practicality. How quickly can I just pop this off and do what I need to do and put it back?
The dust bin is pretty similar. The one thing that stood out to me, you'll notice there's no brush in here. What's going on there? This doesn't have a brush. So I was a little bit sad about that. I don't know why they didn't include a brush. Well, actually, let me take that back. There was a brush in the bag. but it did not, there's no storage place for the brush. So
Okay.
you have to remember where you put it. You got to store it somewhere. And I know these are all
Okay, I'm
very
out.
these are all very first world problem complaints. But when you're talking about a device that's, upwards of 1K, these are things that you have to consider, especially when the less expensive one does have some of that built in. Now, the T10 Omni, the first thing I'll mention is that it has a voice assistant built in. You don't have to use it. And in fact, you'll notice I've got an orange light here. Well, it's probably hard to see, but this orange light means I don't currently have that turned on. The voice assistant is called Yiko, Y-I-K-O, and you say, okay, Yiko, and then you proceed to ask it to clean, to do whatever you want. Now, while I have it turned off because it was getting too many notifications, it was thinking I was talking to it too much. I understand why they've included this, and I think that it is overall a good idea. And that's because if you've ever tried to add a smart vacuum to your system, then you have noticed that it can be kind of difficult to get Amazon's voice assistant or whatever one you're using to actually do what you want it to do. You have to give it a nickname. Sometimes you have to say, ask this app to do this thing, as opposed to me just going, okay, Yiko, start vacuuming, or okay, Yiko, vacuum the living room. So without any extra setup outside of what you would normally do when you're using this vacuum, you can get those voice tools. That is pretty cool. Just for me, it ended up being too sensitive, and that's why I didn't like it turned on at all times, because it was going, if you're trying to talk to me, It's like, no, I'm not trying to talk to you right now. But again, I think that over time the Eco is a relatively new thing for the Ecovacs system. So I'm not surprised that, in its first iteration, it could use some adjustments to the sensitivity. But let's talk about what's going on in the garage here. So I'm actually going to put this down on the ground for a moment. And in fact, we're going to have it run here in a minute, and we'll see some fun stuff. But let me put this down.
Somebody make sure Lily's hidden away.
Yeah, I guess you could chase it around. Actually, that'd be kind of cute. So what the garage is here is you get the docking station, and inside there are chargers, and this actually has some bumpers on the side that are helping to guide it in. But this has two things going on. Down at the bottom, there are sprays to actually, it will fill basically down in the bottom with a water bath. And then it fills with that water bath, and then the mopping pads will roll back and forth to clean them. And then it will suck that water out of the water bath up into the dirty water tank. And then it's ready to go again. Down here, you'll see this sort of opening here. If I hit this button underneath, and it opens up this compartment, and this is the compartment here. Let me bring it around so we can show over the top here. This is the compartment that holds the dustbin.
Okay.
So the dustbin goes in the bottom, but the magic, I feel, actually happens in the top, and we'll do this from the front because it's a little too close to the camera. Up here, we have two tanks. There's the clean water tank, and then there's the wastewater or dirty water tank. And so the cold water tank goes on the one side, and it will then, as I mentioned, take the water and put it down into the base and clean it out. And then that wastewater gets sucked up and put into the dirty water tank. So after about a week, you have to empty the dirty water tank. But what's great is that right in the middle, it also comes with a compartment where you can put their own. They have a cleaning solution that you can add to the cold water, but also a really nice brush. And this brush is extendable. Wait, let me see. There we go. So it can extend out, and you're meant to use this inside of the garage to clean out that water bath after a while. So once, every couple of weeks, you clean that out and brush it clean to make sure that everything's good to go inside of there. And what I love about this is, well, I think that these built-in accessories are great because it means that, you don't have to furnish your own accessories in terms of how to clean it. It's kind of all built right in, so you just know what you're supposed to do. But then also, this down here has some hot, so it's a fan and it is also, it warms. So what it'll do is after it runs, it will send heated air across those mop pads to dry them out. So you don't have that moistness just sitting there, getting dirty, growing germs, being nasty. It actually will dry them and make sure that the pads are ready to go the next time. Because my biggest concern with this whenever I first was testing it is this going to start going around and just spreading gross smells everywhere because those pads are going to be mildewy or whatever? And no, because it's drying it out, it doesn't do that.
Right.
So, all right.
Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You say they mentioned having their own solution for cleaning. I'm assuming that third-party solutions are totally fine, or did they DRM this?
They did not DRM it.
Okay.
Of course, they suggest that you use the first party, but I have, like Bissell makes a cleaning solution for its different like floor cleaners and stuff that I've put in there, and it was just fine. I wouldn't use like a very soapy cleaner because then that's going to like make a mess, but sort of light solution was A-okay and it worked just fine. And yeah, I did not use their first party solution with this. Now, the other kind of cool thing about this, this T10 Omni is that it is not just a vacuum cleaner. And I'm going to...
It's a Rolls Royce?
It's a Rolls Royce.
You said it was a Rolls Royce.
It is also a Rolls Royce. It does more than that. So I'm going to go into so here you can see this is what it looks like for the T9 Plus, where you enter smart cleaning, but then there's also the T10 Omni. And there are two options here, enter smart cleaning and enter video manager. So I'm going to tap on enter video manager. And then can we turn this off for a second? I think I can remember my password. So you have to set up a PIN in order to set up this feature. And then, okay, now you can go ahead. What you're seeing here is the camera that is built into the front of the device. Now, what I'm going to try to do, I thought that there was a way to sort of joystick it around, but there might not be. Home patrol, there we go. So it's going to start patrolling around, and we'll get, and there's Lily. And so we'll get a view as right now it's just sort of figuring itself out, but it should start moving here shortly. Oh, it's trying to return home. So that is a little odd. There we go. So it's looking around for its home, which of course is way out of its view. So it's going, what in the world is happening here?
By your feet.
Yes. And it is moving around right now and looking for its home. What you can do with this is you can actually, it has a built-in microphone and speaker so that you could send out a message. So if I was trying to get in touch, then I could do that. You'll see that it just saw that there were some wires that it's like, oh, I don't think I can go over those. So it actually backed up and it's going to go a different way now. And right now what it's doing is it's mapping out this new space. So you'll see in the top left corner, there's this blue that is kind of filling out. And that is because it's going, oh, I'm clearly not where I thought I was. So what the heck is going on here? And look, this is it kind of panicking a little bit as it's looking around. So yeah, here it is behind me going, where am I supposed to be going? I did not give it a fair chance. I will say that by telling it that it was not, that it was in a new space. So it does think right now that it's in the old space. And I think that's part of what's making it a little
I like
upset.
the idea that it said, holy moly, this is a bunch of cables. Let me run away from them.
So this is kind of a cool thing where I can say, hey, I want you to go to a different space. And so I can tap and say, hey, go here. And then it will move to that designated location. So this is great if you have mapped out like a living room or... Yeah, I'm gonna have it stop for now. What I want, could one of you maybe take it out to that area, and then we could show it actually giving it a fair shot. So anyway,
out of the corner.
Yeah, no one puts baby in the corner. In this case, that's the T10 Omni. If you had this set up in your home, you could say, hey, look, I want you to go into the living room area, and this is how I want you to do that. Oh, now we've got Lily sort of playing with it. but now it's kind of looking around, and you could use this. I was thinking about how you could use this if you had pets. And so this would be one way that you could check in on them if they didn't run away completely because they're going, what is with this? So yes, along with the kind of radar technology or the LiDAR technology that's built in, this is the T10 Omni, which has that extra feature. And that is what I will say, and I think that's what kind of makes me wonder if they maybe traded out having more of the other sensors in the front to have that camera built into it. And that's why it wasn't as good, because that's the one where I had they're metal food bowls, and they are reflective.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's not seeing that metal food bowl. And because the metal food bowl isn't heavy enough, then it isn't hitting the bumper sensors. So for some reason, the T9 Plus was able to avoid it, but the T10 was not. And I wonder if it's because those cameras are in the front instead.
That's an interesting trade-off, though. Makes you wonder, what was their testing procedures on that? Because again, those bowls are not very heavy for whatever dog you have. Even if you have like a mastiff like mine, the bowls are still fairly lightweight, and you just want to avoid it. So.
Yeah. So, and this, some of the newer technology that they have for the sensing is actually still in beta. Like they roll out new stuff all the time as they try to improve upon the algorithm. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets better over time. So the T9 Plus again retails for $800. The T10 Omni retails for $1,300. But again, if we look at comparable devices, they are far more expensive than that. And I don't know if I've seen one that also has a camera packed into it to give you kind of home patrol options if you want to check in on your home while you're away. So I think what they're doing is really clever. And I was really happy to get a chance to try these out and see what they were all about. The T10 Omni is like brand spanking new as of, I think, late last month. And then the T9 Plus, this specific version, the Plus version of it, also makes it brand spanking new, but the T9 has been out for a while. Both of them available on like Amazon and Best Buy and stuff. But yeah, these are some really, I think, incredible robotic vacuums that you don't have to maybe break the bank for while still getting that sort of more advanced technology in place.
You got to give them credit, though. Again, I reviewed an Ecovacs Deebot. Again, it's been almost 10 years ago, and here they are still iterating on their previous designs, and almost 10 years later says a lot.